Throughout the years, I have all these notes on things I learned in life on my iPhone. And instead of just keeping them to myself, I realized that, hey, if I share them, maybe you'll learn something from it too.
Okay, this one's cool. Life's challenges are like walking in shallow water. You're scared at first, but after you take a step, another world opens up to you. So actually, I used to hate getting in water. Like, I went to Florida 5-6 years ago with my family, and we're at the beach, and I didn't want to go in the ocean because I was like, it's just the ocean, it's just water, I don't care about this. Recently now, like, I'm a huge surfer now. I love surfing so much with a passion, and it's exactly a 180 of that. Now I step in the water, and I realize at first it's uncomfortable, but then once you get kind of used to that, you can go all the way in, and it's so much more comfortable, and so much more fun too. And you realize that life's challenges are kind of like that. Like, sometimes you gotta go dive in head first and go all the way. When you're sad, remember it'll get better. Mornings are beautiful. So I was like really depressed at this one point, and I felt like life was super stagnant. And one of the things that helped me feel a lot better was that mornings I would walk with my dog as the sun was rising, and I got to see all these warm colors on the buildings. It was very vibrant and nice and warm. My dog was happy, I was happy, and I remember that, like, mornings symbolizing a new day as being something really beautiful, because mornings are beautiful and that's like a new start. Every day can be a new start to a beautiful life. Your budget is time. Focus your goals and what you want to do with it. Your time is so limited. That's like the biggest budget that you have. So when you should have like goals of what you want to do. You can use your time and hit those goals instead of just like mindlessly wandering around doing things that other people are telling you to do and just like going with the flow. Like, there's a lot of things that you can do to be happy. You should do those things that make you happy. Don't let everyday routines turn into ruts. Many times we get really sucked into our everyday routines, and after a while it starts repeating and repeating and repeating itself, that it turns into like a Groundhog's Day kind of thing, and that turns into a rut. So don't get too caught up doing something that you always do every day. For example, I oversurfed. I would spend days and days at a time just surfing and not doing anything else, that after a while I was taking it for granted and not making the best of my time when I could have just went and explored and like done a lot more with my time. Do a bit every single day. So that's exactly what it says. Like, do a little bit every single day. Like, if you're gonna go shoot photography, or if you're trying to be a YouTuber, make a bit of a video every single day. Do something every single day that gets you to where you want to be. So that way you could at least take little steps and little steps. Time flies. That's the crazy thing. Like, time flies, and these little things that you do, after a while they just stack up together and it just becomes a skill. Okay, this one's kind of a long one. Traveled halfway around the world to realize that you can't run away from yourself. Only that you can admire a city, that your city is just as beautiful as any city as long as you go out and look for it. With all its cultures and novelty, Canada is great, but so is Los Angeles with its fashionistas and cinema icons. People want to visit Los Angeles, and here I am trying to get out. The cure is inside of you, like Marcus Aurelius said it. You can travel around the world seeking happiness, but happiness is within. So this was written in 2016 when I was in Montreal, and I had just graduated not too long ago, I think. Like, I was stuck in this mindset of LA being a certain way, and I was kind of in a rut. And I had to go to Montreal to kind of figure that out. But when I went to Montreal, I realized that happiness is within you. Like, all I needed to be happy was inside of me. So I realized that, hey, being in Montreal doesn't necessarily make me happy. What makes me happy is that I know what's going on, and I could control my feelings, or I can do something that contributes to my happiness. Don't be intellectually correct, just get the results. What I mean to say by this is that don't get too caught up on the theory of why a business might fail. Instead, go out, run that business, do that business, try things out, and then you'll figure out, hey, maybe this is what I need to work on, versus just sitting behind, not doing anything and being like, okay, this is not gonna work out because I studied this and it's not gonna work out. The reality is you're really not gonna know what's gonna work out and what's not gonna work out because you haven't tried it. And that was like the big thing I learned after like years of school, because a lot of economic policies, you actually don't know what's gonna happen until you put into place. You can make a lot of educated guesses, but ultimately it boils down to you don't know what's going to happen until you put it into place. Being well-read is an excuse by intellectuals to avoid actual work. I literally just talked about that. People that try to be intellectuals and try to be so knowledgeable on the subject like startups and how startups work and whatnot might not necessarily be the ones that make a successful startup, because they're all focused on the theory of why a startup wouldn't work instead of going out, getting nitty-gritty and getting their hands dirty and starting an actual business. They just sit behind as a keyboard warrior telling people why their startups don't work instead of going out and doing it. Don't kill yourself over not being there. Be content knowing that you're approaching it. That one's saying that no matter where you're going, you should be appreciative of where you're at in the journey, because when you look back, you're gonna be like, oh, this was actually really awesome. Like, the journey is probably one of the most enjoyable parts of the destination, because once you get to the destination, you're gonna enjoy it for a bit. But then after that, you're gonna be like, oh, I kind of want more. I can't just stay stagnant here. I can't just like do this all the time. Like when I moved to the beach, after a while I was like, hey, I kind of want more to life than just surfing every single day. Humans try to impress their most closest peers, because humans love pleasing people. It's because we're social animals. We have to be around groups, and groups made us survive in the past. Like when we're out hunting a mountain lion or a saber-toothed tiger, we needed a group. We couldn't just go out and hunt it on our own. Being an animal that loves to be with groups, we tend to like people please a lot, and as a result of that, you might end up not doing something that makes you completely happy or something that makes you completely successful for the most part. Like if all your friends are doing things that aren't conducive to what makes you happy, you're probably not gonna be happy. Like if you join a frat that parties all the time, but secretly on the inside you just want to make some money or start a business, that might not be a good fit for you. Make sure you understand what makes you happy at the moment, not just follow along what everyone else is doing, because simply that's just what everyone else is doing. Make sure you do you and not just people please all the time. Oh, this is an interesting one. Thoreau lived everywhere he was. Okay, so I remember after graduating for a bit, I had this like existential crisis, and I read some Thoreau, and he like dropped the whole city life to move out and live in the wild, because that helped him discover life and see life for life. And I thought that was really beautiful, because to me, life was this like linear line that I already knew was gonna happen. Like, you know, you get good grades, you go to college, you get out of college, you work a stable 9-to-5 job in banking or something, or be a lawyer, a doctor. In my case, it was gonna be somewhere in the finance industry, because economics major, or somewhere in business development. And that was completely not what made me happy. And I realized after I took control of my life and started doing things that I thought would make me happy, and that made the biggest difference. That's not to say it's gonna be easy. It's like one of the toughest things I've ever done. Like getting into hard colleges was easy compared to what I'm doing now. Okay, this one's actually a really long one, but it kind of hits me deep in the feels, so I'm gonna read it anyways. Remember that there's life out there, that your mistakes don't define you as a person, and instead build you to be stronger. Remember that you have friends who support whatever you do, and that you always belong somewhere. When you're alone for an extended period of time, it's to work towards the time to spend with friends again. Life is outside of your room, so go out and explore, see things like picnic day, going to San Francisco, being you, enjoying the view of the city as you drive in, discussing philosophy, and remember the great feeling it is making friends. This one speaks for itself. And finally, I'll just end with this. Hey Arnie, it seems crazy and unsure right now. Your non-traditional path, but happy life. You have to stick to it and help your parents find happiness too, because in this sadness, I learned happiness. That one was ultimately me realizing that like life was really sad for me at a certain point, and that like through that sadness, I needed that sadness, that depressive time in my life, to find out what actually made me happy. By going through such a tough time in my life, I learned how to find happiness. If you or someone you know has depression or whatnot, tell them that it's okay, that once they get past all of that, they're gonna be the happiest they've ever been, and that the other end of it is beautiful, bright, and amazing. I'm just so happy that you're here listening to this. I hope that it inspired you in some way, that you can like apply this to your everyday life, or share this with someone that could apply it to their everyday life too, because this is like years in the making, notes that I wrote. I haven't found all of them either, and this is just some of them that I really like that just stood out to me as I was scrolling through years and years of notes. So with that being said, follow, like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and I'll see you on the other side.